I want to mention something that's been on my mind the whole day as I've listened to this. I believe that, yes, there are risks in AI, but there are risks in everyday healthcare in the U.S. And I think AI will be a way of displaying or unearthing those risks. What's really key is who's at the helm? Where's the heart and soul of this?
If you're thinking about all of the data that's available at the FDA, how can that be used to train AI models, to inform AI decisions and policymaking?
It's a data management business. FDA acquires data, it aggregates it, it analyzes it, and it acts upon it. And I think where AI really has a tremendous opportunity now is we've done a really good job with the acquisition and aggregation, but it's that analysis piece that I think really presents a considerable number of challenges for us.
Would have come a long way already if not for the contentiousness over who owns the data that resides inside of FDA, particularly as it relates to products that never made it to market. That's the greatest source of data, which is not known to anyone and kept as a proprietary trade secret by companies and could be so informative.
You saw from the outside on the aducanumab decision for one of the companies in Alzheimer's that basically FDA was telling us that they had looked into their archives of data to help them make that decision, and that happens every day. There isn't any reason why the data that exists in the FDA can't be used on a much more rigorous basis, inference engines, whatever, every time someone submits a medical product. And Rob, I don't know how you feel about this, but the CCI issue, I mean, we de-identify human data. We can certainly somehow de-identify confidential commercial information.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, as a clinical trialist, I've spent most of my career with the belief that the data from a human experiment, as in the consent form, actually belongs to the people that volunteered to do the experiment.
Absolutely, amen.
Not the companies that paid for the study.
That's exactly right.
But that's never been legally, even though it's in the consent form, it's never been legally tested. And the companies, as you know, maintain that since they paid for it, they own it.
That treasure trove of data that's been accumulated over a substantial period of time of what works and what doesn't work, I think we could take that step. But one of the things that I think is really going to be important is when we do take that step and incorporate AI, FDA has to be an active participant in the development of the AI, not simply a recipient. Much of what we're talking about is FDA regulating the use of AI out there, and I think FDA needs to begin to focus on the use of AI inside.
How do you think about transparency of AI in the regulatory system? How do you convince everybody that every decision is being done transparently?
The one woman was sitting next to me, and she had gone through treatment for stage 4 colon cancer and had come out beautifully on the other end. And she looked at me and she goes, I don't care about privacy as long as you find the cure for my cancer. And I thought to myself, well, there is a very, I mean, I get that 100%. Explain to people, how does this help us? How does this help the American people? How does this promote and protect public health? And I think there's a really good argument to have if we reduce it to the common elements that are important.
Your experience with a cancer patient, one thing I think I learned at Alphabet is if you give people something they want and is helpful to them, they don't worry so much about transparency. They just want to know that it works.
The only problem with that, though, is to how we get them to understand with something like AI that there are going to be risks. And there's going to be some problem that we'll have to address, but that we have to do it because to not do it has even greater risks to public health.
What is one thing that really encourages you about AI advancement, and what is one thing that perhaps you worry about?
I've sort of come away from today thinking AI, in the absence of an output which is intended to actually improve patient outcome, as opposed to, let's say, simply improve profit, is a real magnifier of harm. Right now, what I'm hearing from a lot of health systems is let's improve our margin because we're under financial pressure. Outcomes are just hard. It's sort of like math is hard, let's move on. And here we are. Everybody in this room is making a lot of money. You can decide for yourself if that's untrue. And we have the worst outcomes of any high-income country, the worst. And so, a lot of money being made. for what purpose. And that is the beauty of the FDA, and because by law, the FDA doesn't consider costs. And I think what the FDA can do is to work with the industries to develop the standards where finance is not the issue. It's the benefits outweigh the risks for the use of the algorithm in a healthcare system.